قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our Sunday live episode of Ask Zad, coming to you at 4 o'clock Mecca time. As usual, we go straight to your questions, and our first caller is from India, Brother Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, my question is, there is a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, and it states that Allah has hated for us three things: vain talks, wasting of wealth, and asking too many questions in disputed religious matters or asking others for something. Sheikh, I ask questions in disputed religious matters to get the most authentic opinion. Is this haram?
Okay. I will answer inshallah. And Hamza from Bosnia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, my question is about talking when the Quran is being played. I watched your videos about that on YouTube, but I told my mother that she should pause the recitation from her laptop if she wants to engage in conversation with me, because it's humiliating the Quran, but she doesn't care. So what should I do at that moment? Ignore her or just talk with her? Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa jazak. Ahnaf from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, yeah, a friend of mine told me that Allah is all hearing, all knowing, all seeing, so he can see, hear, and know everything. And he asks that, can Allah create a creature that can see, hear, and know everything?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Noor from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Sheikh, my question is regarding Sunnatul Fajr.
Yes.
The two prayers you pray before Fajr, yes, Sheikh. So I don't know, someone said that the Sunnah is to pray it in your home before going to the mosque. So I don't know whether it is so. And if I pray it at home before going to the mosque, do I still pray 2 rak'ats, the greeting of the masjid, when I enter the mosque? Or do I wait to pray the Sunnah in the mosque?
I will answer.
That's my question, ya Sheikh.
Barakallah feek. I will answer inshallah. Muhammad from the Philippines.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Hi, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah.
So my question, Sheikh, can you give me some advice on how do I increase my fear to Allah Azza wa Jal?
How to do what?
Increase our fear to Allah Azza wa Jal.
Increase your fear.
Yes, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. And we have Shad from Iraq.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
I had a question about the Quran being an attribute of Allah. So are the Arabic letters and words an attribute of Allah, or is it just the words that we hear?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Faizan from India.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Sheikh, actually my question is regarding taweez. So I personally believe that it is prohibited to wear. So yesterday I was talking with my roommate. He told me that some scholar told him that taweez is permissible to wear, but it is not a good thing to do. So if there is some Quranic verses on taweez that is authentic, so a person can wear that. If there is something related to shirk, that is prohibited. So I want to know, is it is there something leniency we can hear Tawiz, or it's totally prohibited shirk?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Sufyan from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, if I fall my glasses down and to pick it up, I have to bend down. And if there's an idol in front of me, so if I bend down, so am I sinful?
What is your intention when you're bending down, making sujood or ruku'?
No. Suppose if I fall down my glasses, so my intention is to pick up the glasses.
And okay, so what's the problem?
So, means to pick up the glasses, we have to do kind of ruku. So, means we have to bend down.
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Qamar from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Actually, Sheikh, I just want to know the ruling on the usage of alcohol in medication. Actually, is it permissible in little quantity or in more quantity? What is the ruling on that?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Muhammad from the US.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I watched your video and other people's videos about divine decree, and I want to know what are the things that we need to know about the daily divine decree as well as the divine decree that happens on Laylatul Qadr.
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Muhammad from Australia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
My question is it allowed for a Muslim to sell Halloween pumpkins during Halloween? If he does this during Halloween and earn money by selling Halloween pumpkins, will he be sinful, or is it that income will be halal?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Ishaq from India.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So Sheikh, as a team leader in my company, if I have to keep my manager informed about the mistakes or poor performance by my Muslim colleagues, does it count as backbiting or exposing their mistakes? And also, Sheikh, do you still use Clubhouse? If yes, when can we expect it to be available there? Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa jazak. And we have Sadiqa from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I saw one of your video that you say if there is impurity over mobile phone or glass, metal, like sword, the things that is so smooth, just wiping out the impurity with a wet cloth is sufficient. Now my question is, nowadays the floor of our house is made out of marble or tiles. It is so smooth, not like the wood or mud that soak the impurity. If there is urine on my floor and I just wipe out it with a wet cloth, is it sufficient or I need to pour water?
Okay, I will answer inshallah. And Abdel Nasser from Ghana.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Please, I'm Abdel Nasser.
Yes, sir.
I'm Abdel Nasser from Ghana.
Okay.
Please, in my country, where the imam, when they are doing the nikah, they do it in public with mass gathering with non-Muslims gather there, and it's confusing me, and I want to find out whether it's the right thing to do or not. They do it in public, the nikah, they do it in public with mass gathering, the Muslims, the Christians, and a whole lot of things. And I want to find out whether it's the right thing or...
Okay, I will answer inshallah. Okay. And Salihin from Canada.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ya Sheikh, the dua of istikhara, I know it by heart because I've memorized it, so I can say it in Arabic. The problem is when I want to say the matter I want to make istikhara about. I don't speak Arabic, so I cannot say it in Arabic. So my question is, can I say the dua in Arabic? And when it comes to saying the matter instead of anna hadha al-amr, can I say the dua, the matter only in English?
Okay.
Barakallahu feek.
We'll answer, inshallah. Latifa from the US.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa barakatuh.
So my question is, me and a sister were praying in the masjid with the imam, but we could hardly hear what the imam was saying. So during the last tashahhud, we thought the imam already gave salam. So we gave salam early before the imam. And then when I got up and looked through the glass, I found out that the imam was still in tashahhud. So me and the sister quickly joined back in tashahhud. And then after we hear a sound from the men's side, we did sujood as-sahw. Is this correct?
Okay, I will answer, inshallah. Bakr from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
So I wanted to ask, what are the rights of older brother over a younger brother who is still not reached maturity? What rights do I have over him and him to me? I wish not to transgress.
Okay, I will answer, inshallah. Fuad from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear Fadilatu Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, dear Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah.
Sheikh, my question is, if a person starts his prayer without any sutra in front of him, in this case, can I pass by keeping the sutra while he is praying? Jazakallah khairan fi dunya wa akhirah.
Wa jazak. And we have Sandine from Korea.
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
My question is, we are living in a non-Muslim country, and my husband is always very upset because he cannot join the congregation because the nearest mosque is almost 1 hour far from here. But he can pray Zuhar, Asr and Maghrib in his university. There is a musalla. But Fajr and Isha, he prays in the home, in the congregation with me, with his wife. So is he sinful for that?
Okay, I will answer, inshallah. Rashad from Tunisia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu
Why many ulama say that we don't have to recite al-Fatiha behind the Imam, while Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لعلكم تقرؤون خلف إمامكم قالوا نعم قال لا تفعلوا إلا بأم القرآن جزاك الله خير.
وجزاك. And finally, CD from Germany. CD.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, if a person made an oath that he never would do an act again, and he add to his vow, he add to his oath a vow, like he said that every time he break his oath, he would fast 1 month. So if a person, for example, make an oath that he never watch a movie again, and if he break this oath, he would fast 1 month, but he felt weak and he watched like 5 movies. So should he fast 5 months, or is just 1 month sufficient? And has he also an option to do kafarat yamin instead fulfilling the vow?
Okay, I will answer, inshallah. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught them what to say when stricken with a calamity. Allah says, what means, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits. But give good tidings to the patient who, when disaster strikes them, say, indeed we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we will return. Those are the ones upon whom are blessings from their Lord and mercy, and it is those who are the rightly guided. Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, there is not a Muslim that is afflicted with a calamity who says what Allah ordered them to say. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhluf li khayran minha. To Allah we belong, and unto Him we shall return. O Allah, grant me reward in my calamity and give me something better in return, except that Allah will give him something better in return. Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, continued, when Abu Salama died, I said, which Muslim is better than Abu Salama, the first household to migrate to the Messenger of Allah? Then I said that supplication, and Allah the Almighty gave me the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in return. Reported by Muslim.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Muhammad from India, he says, Allah Azza wa Jal, the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, that Allah hated for you three things, and the hadith was narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari. إن الله كره لكم ثلاثا قيل وقال وكثرة السؤال وإضاعة المال. Allah has hated for you three things. قيل وقال, gossiping and chit-chatting. كثرة السؤال, to ask a lot. And إضاعة المال, to squander and waste your money. So, asking a lot, كثرة السؤال, does it refer to asking questions about religion? In a nutshell, no. To elaborate, questioning at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a lot was prohibited because it was a time of legislation. So the Prophet ﷺ said to his companions, leave me as long as I leave you. As long as I don't mention it to you, don't ask what's your ruling on drinking green tea in a mug without sugar. With mint, of course. So I did not say anything or comment on it, and there is nothing in the Quran to talk about it or against it. So why are you bringing it up? Don't ask, because there is a possibility that if you ask, it may burden the whole ummah. After Hajj, with the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet said, was standing and talking to the congregation. One of the companions stood up and said, O Prophet of Allah, is this Hajj we have just performed every single year for us, or once in a lifetime? So the Prophet ﷺ was angered by this question. Because if he were to say every single year, that would have burdened 2 billion Muslims on earth. But he said to them, leave me as long as I leave you. As long as I did not discuss it, then don't bring things up, because it's time of legislation. After the death of the Prophet ﷺ, there's no legislation possible. The deen is complete. So asking questions that are relevant, that are genuine, even if plenty, is a good thing. What is not permissible is to ask about hypothetical things. A brother calls me, Sheikh, if I were to travel to the moon or to Mars, and it's time for prayer, where should I face? Or how do I know the times of prayer? I said to the brother, when you get there, give me a call, and I will find you an answer, inshallah. This is hypothetical. You're not one in a million or a billion or even 5 billion that have the possibility to go there. Why ask so, questions? Therefore, such questions are prohibited. But on daily basis, you ask questions frequently. Oh Sheikh, how can I wipe over my socks if I am a traveler? Oh Sheikh, if I take off my socks, is my wudu broken or not? And you keep on asking these questions to learn your religion. This is totally permissible. As the interpretation of kathratu su'al can mean to literally ask a lot of questions or to beg money. When you ask people for money, this is also su'al. And it also can be asking about things that are not of your business, not of your concern. And we sit with so many people like this, and they're heavyweight. And he just sits there with you in the waiting room in a clinic or somewhere, and he just chit-chats. So what do you do? I do this and that. How much are you getting paid? I don't know the guy, and he keeps asking questions. How many wives do you have? How many kids? What is this, the FBI? Am I under interrogation here? And he keeps on asking such questions. This is not permissible in Islam, as the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, min husni islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni. A sign of a person's good Islam that he does not get himself involved in what is not of his business. And Hamza from Bosnia Herzegovina says, the letters, I think, oh no, he says that speaking during the Quran, we know that part of respecting the Quran is when it's recited and you're the one who is playing it, that you listen to it. So his mother always turns on the Quran, and sometimes she speaks and talks while the Quran is playing in the background. And he told her many times, but she's not listening. What to do? For you, Hamza, you've done your due diligence, you've done your duty. There's nothing for you to do more than that. And there's nothing wrong in you talking to her, because it is not you who turned the Quran on or can turn the Quran off. So it's like someone reading the Quran next to me. I don't want to listen. It's my right whether to listen or not. So if I speak to someone else, it's not my sin. There's no sin on me because he's playing the Quran. He's the one who's supposed to listen. So I hope this answers your question. Ahna from Bangladesh, he says, Allah Azza wa Jal is all hearing, all seeing. So can Allah create something that is all hearing, all seeing? First of all, there are no limits of Allah's powers. But Allah's powers are related to what is possible. Because it is not logical to speak about the impossible. So someone comes to you and says, can Allah create something that He Himself cannot carry? Can Allah Himself create a God? And some people say that Allah can do so many things, but I know many things Allah cannot do. A'udhu billah. This is totally inappropriate. You must never ever say such a statement, because this is disrespecting Allah. Yes, I know your intention is good and you meant to address the atheists that Allah cannot do the impossible things that are not related. Because, for example, one would say, Allah cannot create another God, because if He creates another God, then He's not a God, or the one who He created cannot be a God. There can only be one God. But this is totally impermissible to say, I know many things that Allah cannot create. Because these things are related to the impossible, and Allah's ability is to what is possible, to speak about something that is tall and short, something that is fat and thin, something that is existing and not existing. These are nonsense. So first of all, don't talk about Allah like this. Second of all, Allah Azza wa Jal is capable of creating some of His creation who may share some partial of His attributes. For example, Allah is ever living. Are we ever living? No, we're about to die. But when we resurrected and we enter paradise, Allah makes the inhabitants of hell and paradise ever living, immortal, living forever. Why? Because their life is existing because of Allah's life, not because they are ever living by themselves. The moment Allah Azza wa Jal stops providing them with it, they'll die. So this is something totally different between what's one of Allah's attributes that cannot be shared, and when Allah wants to share some of His common name, it's not the same attribute. Allah's life is unlike any other life, but it may confuse people that I'm alive, Allah is alive, so this is common. No, the name is common. And when Allah Azza wa Jal makes us eternal in paradise, inshallah, this is not because we are eternal by nature, rather it is dependent on Allah Azza wa Jal Himself. Noor from Nigeria, he has a confusion of Sunnat al-Fajr, and a lot of the people have a confusion of this, and I'll try to clarify it to you. The Sunnah is to pray 2 rak'ahs before the Fard of Fajr. The Sunnah is to pray these 2 rak'ahs at home, because the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, the best prayer of an individual is in his home except the Fard. So the Fard must be prayed in the masjid. The Sunnah, the best and highest reward is to pray it at home. And the Prophet always prayed Sunnat al-Fajr at home. Thirdly, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that it is not permissible to pray between the adhan of Fajr and the iqamah of Fajr except the 2 rak'ahs of Sunnah. Meaning that I have no right to pray 2 or 4 or 6 voluntary prayers because I don't have anything to do between adhan and iqamah of Fajr. This is prohibited. Fourthly, if I follow the Sunnah and pray at home and then go to the masjid, what should I do? If I sit down, I'm sinful. Because the Prophet said, if you enter the masjid, do not sit until you pray 2 rak'ahs. And if I pray 2 rak'ahs, I'm afraid that I may fall under the prohibition of praying between adhan and iqamah of Fajr more than the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr, of Sunnah. What to do? The scholars say, no, you are instructed to pray before sitting down because this is not voluntary, this is mandatory. So you pray it. So I hope this clarifies things for you, Noor. Muhammad from the Philippines, how can we increase our fear of Allah Azza wa Jal? You cannot fear something or someone until you acknowledge Him or know Him. And Allah has the highest example. If I have a fruit while walking in the tropics or in the jungles of Africa or in the Amazon, and I see a beautiful fruit, it looks beautiful, it smells beautiful. If I don't know, if no one tells me that this is poisonous and it will kill you in 60 seconds, I will eat it. If I were to know, if someone were to tell me, I would immediately refrain from it. And Allah has the highest example. Once you know Allah, you truly fear Him. And this is why Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Verily, only among Allah's servants who fear Him are the scholars, the knowledgeable ones. So the more your knowledge is increased, knowledge not in physics or chemistry or biology, knowledge in Allah, in His beautiful names, in the Quran and the tafsir, in the hadith and the meaning of it, in fiqh and aqeedah, the more knowledge you have, the more fear of Allah you would have. Shad from Iraq, he says, the Quran is one of Allah's attributes, kalamullah. So is it the words and the letters or only what we hear? Everything of the Quran is kalamullah. What you read, what you hear, what you recite, this is kalamullah. Now, if you mean that is the paper which the Quran is written on, is it not created? The answer is no, of course it's created. The ink that it was written by or with, it is created. But the thing you read, the thing you recite, the thing you see, the thing you hear, this is kalamullah Azza wa Jal, where Allah Azza wa Jal spoke it and given it and revealed it to us. Faizan from India, he says that I know that amulets and ta'viza is prohibited, but a friend of mine said that if it's written from the Quran, it's okay. This is not true. It was reported that Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, used to write Quran verses in a plate and hang them on children's necks. Some people say that so that they can memorize them. Like in a lot of tahfiz circles, they write it on a board and they rub it off and they write the verses over and over and over until they memorize it. And the vast majority say that even amulets made of Quran is not permissible because one, it is disrespecting the Quran and carrying it to haram places such as the toilet and engaging in inappropriate conversations while wearing it, etc. So all of this, among other evidences which fall under the general instruction of the Prophet ﷺ that whoever depends on such amulets or ta'weed, he would go out of the fold of Islam committing minor shirk or major shirk depending on his intention. Sufyan from India, he asks a frequent question which indicates that a lot of the Muslims have a problem in understanding the concept of shirk and kufr. He says, if I dropped my glasses and I bent down to pick them up and in front of me was an idol, am I committing shirk? The answer is, of course you're committing shirk when you're saying, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. He said, no, Sheikh, I'm not praying, I'm not saying anything. I'm just picking the glasses. So why are you wasting my time? Why don't you guys think with your logic, with your head, instead of allowing shaitan to mess up with your heads like this? What's wrong in picking up your glasses? What's your intention? This is what counts. Not, so if there's an idol in front of me and I dropped my keys and I just went down to look underneath it, if my keys are there or not, am I prostrating to it? No, I don't have the intention. I'm not saying it. What you see is your problem. What is my intention? Sometimes I sit in the masjid and I read the Quran and there is a sajda. So I place the Quran on the ground and I make my sajda. Some of the elders and the grumpy grandfathers come to me. Well, I'm a grumpy grandfather as well, but you know, I've been in the business for too long, you tend to forget how old you are. Some of them may come to you and say, hey, wait, pick up the mushaf from the ground. Duh. Why? He said, this is disrespecting it. He said, subhanAllah, you know what's in my heart? I've been praying for Allah Azza wa Jal for so long. I've been reading the Quran for so long. I've been memorizing parts of it for so long. And I've been reading it for an hour. Out of what? To get your credit? To get your praising? I'm doing it for Allah Azza wa Jal. So if I put it on the ground, you don't know if I'm humiliating it or not. And definitely, not in 1,000 years, I would be humiliating it. So please, mind your own business. And likewise, when someone extends and stretches his feet while sitting in the masjid towards the Qibla, people come say, hey, what are you doing? Gather your feet. Why? This is disrespecting Allah Azza wa Jal. Says who? I have utmost respect in my heart, but it is not what you guys think or try to make it as a formality of the way you sit or the way you dress or all of this is baloney. Qamar from Saudi Arabia, he says, or she says, what's the ruling on alcohol and medication? If the percentage is little, there's no problem. There is a difference between alcohol and wine or whiskey or beer or intoxicants. These are totally different categories. Alcohol is found almost everywhere. Very minute little percentages. So if having alcohol in medication would not lead you to be intoxicated and it was prescribed by an authorized Muslim doctor, there's no problem in consuming it. If the percentage is a little bit high and makes a person intoxicated or drowsy, then we have to go to alternatives if there are alternatives. Muhammad from the US, he says predestiny and al-qadar What's the difference of daily qadr and the qadr that is made on Laylatul Qadr, the night of decree? Well, qadr in general was prescribed, was written, was overdone with 50,000 years before Allah Azza wa Jal had created the whole universe. And we know the hadith. Now, there are other times where subcategories of this predestination takes place. So when a fetus is 120 days old in the womb of its mother, Allah sends an angel, and the angel breathes in the soul in that fetus, and he asks, "Oh Allah, whether wretched or righteous, whether poor or rich, whether healthy or sick, whether this or that," and he writes his provision. This provision is taken from the preserved tablet, which was written 50,000 years before Allah created the universe. So this is part of predestination. It's already been predestined, but this reoccurs. So it reoccurs again on the night of Al-Qadr, Laylatul Qadr, the night of decree, and in different occasions as well. Not that it is something new, but it's all taken from the preserved tablet. Muhammad from Australia, he says, selling pumpkins on Halloween, is it sinful or not? The answer is yes. Any assistance on the celebrations of the disbelievers is prohibited, and the money is haram. If you have a vegetable market or a shop and you sell tomatoes and carrots and lettuce and everything else, and someone buys from you a pumpkin, there's no problem. Specifically selling pumpkins only for Halloween, where they engrave these faces on them, or skulls, or eyes and nose, and they put candles inside, this is assisting them on that sin. And you should not do that, and the money of it would be haram. Does it take you out of the fold of Islam? No, inshallah, it doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam. Ishaq, he says, as someone in a position in my company, my supervisor or my direct boss asks me about my subordinates to evaluate them. Would this be backbiting? The answer is no. As long as it is for the cause of evaluation and for the benefit of the work, to progress it and to put the right man in the right place, there's nothing wrong in that, inshallah, as long as you're truthful. Sadiqa from Bangladesh, she says that if we have marble on the ground and it is as smooth, no grooves, nothing, it is as smooth as glass or metal, because we know that if I have a sword or a knife and there is impurity on it and I wipe it clean where I can see that there is nothing on it, this makes it pure, even if I don't wash it. Because the essence of purifying an object is to remove the impurity, and I have done that clearly. In this case, if the marble is like that and you mop it with a wet cloth, then this purifies it as well, inshallah. Abdel Nasser from Ghana, he says marriages in my country are mixed, and Muslims and non-Muslims attend. Well, non-Muslims attending has no impact on that. Let them come if they are neighbors or relatives and attend. There's no problem with that. But having it mixed, where the groom and the bride are in front of everyone and they're mixed gathering, women and men, this is haram. Does it impact the validity of the marriage? No, the marriage is valid. But those conducting it are sinful for allowing such a sin. Salihin, he says in istikhara, I know the dua in Arabic. Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmika wa astaqdiruka biqudratika wa as'aluka min fadlika al-azim, to the end. But in between the dua, there is a place where I say, Oh Allah, if buying a car that is red and convertible, good for me in this dunya and in my all affairs, blah, 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 I don't know how to say it in Arabic. I know the dua, but to name my thing that I want to ask Allah for guidance in, I don't know how to say it in Arabic. So can I say it in my own language? The answer is no problem at all. Latifa from the US. She was praying in the masjid and the Imam's voice was so low that they concluded their prayer thinking that the Imam gave salam. When she stood up and looked through the glass windows, she saw that the Imam was still in the tashahhud. So she went back and assumed the position of tashahhud until she heard the Imam giving salam. So she concluded her prayer and offered sujood as-sahw. Was what she had done correct? The answer is no. As long as you've prayed with the Imam the whole number of rak'ahs without missing one, the mistake you had committed is an error that the Imam would cover you for. Because the Prophet said, alayhi salam, al-mu'adhdhinu mu'taman wal-imamu damin. The mu'adhdhin is entrusted for calling that the time of prayer. So if I'm waiting for sunset and my dates and soup and sambusa are ready and I'm making dua and the Imam says Allahu Akbar, I immediately say Bismillah and I eat. I don't care about the time. I am not supposed to go and look, is the sun, has the sun set or not? No, this is not my job. He is entrusted and I take his word for it. And the Imam is damin. He's a guarantor. Guarantor in English, not in Arabic. So what is the meaning of guarantor? That he guarantees that your prayer is valid because you're praying behind him. So many times in the second rak'ah, the Imam from the second sujood says, Allahu Akbar, and all of a sudden you find someone standing up and reading the Fatiha while everybody's sitting for tashahhud. Duh, what are you doing? And the guy realizes this after like 5-6 seconds and oops, he sits down. Is he supposed to perform sujood as-sahw? The answer is no. The Imam covers it up for him. So likewise for you, you should have assumed the position of tashahhud, offered tashahhud, then offered salam, and that was it. Adding sujood as-sahw afterwards, inshallah, would not affect your prayer because you had done it out of ignorance and mistake. Bakr from Saudi Arabia, he says, what are the rights of an elder brother over his younger brother? He doesn't want to transgress. And this is very kind of you, Bakr. And it shows that you fear Allah Azza wa Jal, because rarely you will find someone nowadays asking about these rights. Most people act impulsively. Most people would slap his sister or beat up his younger brother or control them just because he's older and he says, Simon says, stand on 1 foot for half an hour and don't blink. What is this? This is not your right. Now, first of all, the chain of command must be followed, which is your father, your mother, then you come underneath. So if your parents are there, you have no right to intervene without their recommendation or advice or permission. So my brother plays video games 2 hours a day, and I don't like this, and this is bad for him. I agree. So can I force him? Can I take his PS4 and break it? Or can I cut the cables? Or can I force him not to play? The answer is, where are your parents? They're here, but they're not doing anything. It's none of your business. You have only the power to advise. Now, having said that, again, in Islam, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَرْحَمْ صَغِيرَنَا وَيُوَقِّرْ كَبِيرَنَا. The chain of command is important. He is not from among us who does not have mercy upon our youngsters and those who do not respect the elders. So these are mutual rights between you and your kid brother. He has to respect you and you have to have mercy on him. Having said that, we always neglect the fact of the core of the problem. Why is your brother watching or playing video games? Why is your sister not wearing the hijab? Why is your relatives listening to music and watching movies? These are symptoms. You, if you want to cure them from these symptoms, must focus on the core illness. So if someone has a headache or stomachache or fatigue, you don't give them things that would cure their symptoms. Rather, you would look for the illness, the original disease, and cure it, whether it's a cancer or whether it is he's diabetic. You have to look at the core of the problem. And likewise, your brother, if he lacks respect, if he is disobedient, if he's not punctual on salat, if he's not studying well, focus on elevating his positive sides rather than being only critical of whatever he does. So whatever he does, why speak in a loud voice? Why do you look at your mom like this? Why do you sit like this? Sit properly. Why are not you dressed? Why is your hair not fixed? When did you wash your mouth? Your mouth smells. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Akhi, how can he ever accept anything that you say? Not a single word of encouragement. And this goes for the parents as well, by the way. We have to give positive vibes all the time, so that when we criticize something or we bring their attention to something, it counts. It has some weight. But when we always criticize, nobody's going to listen to you. When you beat someone once or twice, it hurts. If you beat him 10 or 20 times, khalas, it's usual. That's why when we used to go to school in the last century, and this is how old I am, and if we made a mistake, the principal would hit us with a stick on our hands. So one stick during 12 years of school had an impact. Some of us used to be hit like 10 times, 15 times a day. Normal. He jumps the fence, he smokes in the toilet, he does whatever he does, and if he caught red-handed, they beat him up 5, 10 times, and it's nothing. It has no impact. So you have to be careful of this, and Allah knows best. Fuad from Bangladesh. If someone is praying without a sutra, can I pass in front of him? The answer is yes, providing that the area between his feet and where he puts his forehead when prostrating is covered. This is his sanctuary. You cannot pass through that. You can pass beyond that without a problem, even if he doesn't have a sutra. Sandine from Korea. Her husband they don't live next to a masjid. The nearest masjid is an hour drive. So he prays Dhuhr, Asr and Maghrib at uni, but he prays Fajr and Isha back home. And he feels uneased. He feels agitated because of this. The man, inshallah, is a righteous brother, and his heart is clinched to the ceilings of the masjid. He loves to be in the masjid. So is he sinful? The answer is no. Definitely he is not sinful. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ made prayer in the masjid mandatory upon those who live within the vicinity of the masjid. How do we know that you live within the vicinity of the masjid? In ideal cases where there are no double glazed windows, when there are no concrete high rises, when there are no cars and air conditioning and sound pollution. When a mu'adhin rises up on the top of the masjid and calls the adhan as loud as he can, the distance that his sound covers, the radius, is indicating that you live in or within the vicinity of the masjid, and it's mandatory for to pray, which is approximately like 1.5 to 2 clicks. But to claim that 1 hour drive is mandatory for you to pray, no one had ever said such a thing, and there's no sin on him. Rashad from Tunisia. Why is there difference of opinion behind the ruling of reciting the Fatiha behind the Imam? Because the hadith of Abu Hurairah, and if you go back to Sifatu Salat al-Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the description of the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ, which was compiled by Shaykh al-Imam Muhammad ibn Nasir al-Din al-Albani, may Allah have mercy on his soul. Shaykh al-Albani authenticated the hadith of Abu Hurairah where the Prophet prayed ﷺ once, and it was a loud prayer, and after he concluded, he said to the people that something was pulling me inside the prayer and trying to fight over my recitation. Maybe you are reciting behind your Imam, meaning while he's reciting. The Prophet says, do not do that except by reciting the Fatiha. So this hadith we all know, and this hadith indicates that reciting the Fatiha while the Imam is reciting in loud prayers is okay. Abu Hurairah says afterwards, then the people were prohibited from doing that as well. Which means that even the Fatiha and the recitation of it in a loud rak'ah was abrogated, and the people were told not to do it. And this is the opinion of Imam Malik, that in loud prayers, you don't recite the Fatiha because the Imam's recitation is sufficient for you. In silent prayers, it's a pillar. You must, whether Dhuhr or Asr or the last two rak'ahs of Isha, it is mandatory. It's a must. It's a rukun for you to recite it, and Allah knows best. Sidi from Germany, he says, a person made an oath not to watch movies. Wallahi, I will not watch a movie. That's an oath. But he combined to it a vow, nether. If I were to watch a movie, I will fast 1 whole month. And he broke this 5 times. So he says, am I obliged to fast 5 months? Or can I pay expiation? First of all, you have sinned for what you had done. You should not have committed yourself to something Allah did not ask you to do it. Allah would have easily told us to fast or to pray a certain number of times if we were to make a sin, but He did not. Secondly, scholars say that whenever a person makes an oath or a pledge or a vow to prevent himself from doing something or to encourage himself to do something, this is considered to be as an oath. So if I say, if I were to drink coffee, I will fast for 1 month. Why am I pledging myself to fast 1 month? To prevent myself from drinking coffee. So this is not to get closer to Allah, rather to prevent myself. This has the same ruling as an oath, which means that your 5 times watching a movie must be expiated by feeding or clothing 10 poor people, as well as repenting to Allah and having remorse and pledging not to do it again, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have until we meet next Saturday, inshallah, if Allah is willing, because again, the studio is being renovated. I don't know if we're going to meet next Saturday or not, but until then, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.